Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. When we mention Emperor Qianlong, the emperor of the Qing dynasty, Eisen Zhoro Hongli, many people often first think of his title, the Tenfold Elder. As the longest reigning emperor in China's feudal dynasties, Qianlong's reign was marked by unprecedented glory. Building upon the achievements of the Kangxi and Yongzheng reigns in terms of civil administration and military prowess, Qianlong further solidified the unity of the multi-ethnic state and promoted further development in society, economy, and culture. Emperor Qianlong placed great emphasis on social stability, cared for the people, and implemented 5 nationwide exemptions from taxes and levies, including the exemption of grain taxes in 8 provinces. These measures alleviated the burdens on farmers, protected agricultural production, and strengthened the Qing dynasty's treasury. During the midpoint of Qianlong's rule, the Qing dynasty reached its peak since the Kangxian era. Moreover, Emperor Qianlong achieved significant success in borderland warfare, improving control over Tibet and incorporating Xinjiang back into the Chinese territory. As a result, the Qing Empire's territorial boundaries reached their maximum extent, and the territorial foundation of modern China was officially established. Additionally, sinology flourished under his reign, with the establishment of academic institutions like the Imperial Academy of Classic Learning and the compilation of the Complete Library of the Four Treasuries. Popular arts also developed greatly during his reign, with Peking opera beginning to take form in the Qianlong period. Qianlong's governance abilities, cultural achievements, and personal charm earned him the reputation of a romantic scholar. Consequently, he lived a life full of confidence and was immensely proud of his achievements. However, what is shocking is that exactly 100 years after Qianlong's death, his imperial tomb suffered ruthless destruction. The former glory of Emperor Qianlong and the symbol of the Grand Empire became targets for thieves and vandals. Rare treasures were looted, and what's even more heartbreaking is that the emperor's skull was found discarded in a filthy drain. The scale of these changes is almost unbelievable. A once wise emperor met such a tragic end. The story dates back to 1928, when the Qing dynasty had already fallen. Although the Qing no longer held political power, the Manchu people still retained some influence. In that year, Sun Dianying, the commander of the 12th Army of the National Revolutionary Army, received orders to suppress bandits. However, as he passed through the eastern tombs, his thoughts changed. He decided to loot the imperial tombs. At the time, Sun's army was large but lacked sufficient funds to sustain its operations, creating a significant financial problem. To raise funds, Sun resorted to the idea of tomb robbing. In fact, Sun Dianying looted 2 imperial tombs, one belonging to Empress Dowager Cixi, and the other to Emperor Qianlong. Although the treasures in Qianlong's tomb were fewer than those in Cixi's, they consisted mostly of valuable paintings and calligraphy, created by renowned ancient masters. Despite the relatively smaller number of treasures, they had immense historical value. Unfortunately, Sun did not show any regard for these priceless paintings and cultural relics. During the looting, he neglected the preservation of these artworks, focusing instead on stealing other valuable items. How did Sun Dianying carry out the looting? According to historical scholars, Sun's army spent 3 full days and nights searching for the entrance to the tomb. Once they found the entrance, they used explosives to blast open the stone door and successfully entered the tombs of Qianlong and Cixi. After entering the underground chamber, they began looting extensively, plundering all the cultural relics inside. Sun's actions quickly attracted national attention and became front-page news. Even the last emperor, Puyi, who was in Tianjin at the time, learned of the news and was enraged to find out that the tombs of his ancestors had been so desecrated. So, why was Puyi in Tianjin? To trace this back, we need to go to 1924. That year, Feng Yuxiang launched a military campaign and returned to Beijing, forcing Puyi out of the Forbidden City. From that moment on, Puyi was no longer the nominal emperor and lost his throne. Therefore, when Puyi learned that his ancestors' imperial tombs had been looted, he was enraged. After crying bitterly, he angrily vowed, "I will not be human if I don't avenge this." He made a firm decision to avenge his ancestors. However, the question arises, could Puyi successfully seek revenge? The tomb robbery by Sun Dianying not only enraged the Manchu royal family, but also drew condemnation from the common people. Although the Qing dynasty had once entered central China by force and ruled over the Han people, the imperial tombs were part of China's cultural heritage. Sun Dianying's method of looting was extremely violent. He blasted open the stone gates of the tomb, causing irreversible damage. The tomb architecture was destroyed, and even the remains of Emperor Qianlong and several of his concubines were tossed out of their coffins. This disrespect for the dead and disregard for historical culture naturally led Puyi to regard Sun Dianying as his #1 enemy. Although Puyi was no longer emperor, he still held some influence at the time. After learning of the looting of Emperor Qianlong's tomb, Puyi, along with all the surviving Manchu royal family members, demanded that the Republican government severely punish Sun Dianying. The incident caught the attention of the Republican government, and even the leader at the time, Chiang Kai-shek, found it troublesome. Ultimately, the Republican government decided to send a special commissioner to investigate the matter. It was at this point that Sun Dianying realized he had to take action and could not just wait for his fate. In response to public criticism, Sun Dianying found justifications for his actions. He claimed to be a descendant of Sun Chengzong, a famous general from the late Ming dynasty who had fought against the Qing, and explained that the Manchus had cruelly killed his ancestors over 3 generations. Therefore, he looted the imperial tombs to avenge his forebears. While Sun Dianying's reasoning might be seen as an emotional outburst, it was difficult to gain public sympathy. After all, tomb robbing was inherently a heinous act. And no matter how many justifications there were, they could not excuse such violent behavior. After Sun Dianying looted Emperor Qianlong's tomb, Puyi ordered the restoration of the tomb. In records of the East Tomb Campaign, Puyi personally recorded the devastation he found in Qianlong's tomb. The damage was far worse than the destruction of Empress Dowager Cixi's tomb, even 100 times more severe. When Sun Dianying entered Qianlong's tomb, the underground chamber had already begun to leak water, and the situation was dire. During the looting process, Sun Dianying and his men discarded the bodies of Qianlong and his empress in a filthy drain. The most shocking detail was that, when the stone gates were blasted open, Qianlong's skull was blown off and fell into the ruins. As an emperor who had prided himself on being the 10,000 full elder, Qianlong could not have imagined that after his death, he would be abandoned in such a tragic and disrespectful way. According to historical records, after looting the tomb, Sun Dianying realized he could not keep the stolen artifacts to himself. He knew that in order to preserve his life, he had to bribe officials and make connections. So, he gave some of the stolen artifacts to officials across various regions in exchange for protection and safety. Through this series of transactions and alliances, Sun Dianying managed to save his life. Thus, Puyi was unable to take revenge as he had hoped. Although he demanded that the Republican government execute Sun Dianying, by then, Puyi had no real power or support, and the entire Manchu influence had long since faded. In the end, the incident of Sun Dianying looting the imperial tombs was left unresolved in the political games between the public and the government. For Sun Dianying, although he did not face lethal punishment, he paid a heavy price for his actions. Not only did he damage his reputation, but he also lost his respect for historical heritage. Consequently, the looting of the imperial tombs by Sun Dianying became an indelible stain on the history of the Republican era. This is the History and Culture channel. Liking and subscribing are the greatest help and support to us. Thank you everyone and see you in the next time.